Welcome back to another Davis Dimension video. I don't know if you're watching this on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Who cares? Long as you here. And welcome if you're new. All we usually do here is just talk about life, experiences, advice I've been given, or me just sharing advice from things I've learned in my life. It's not about being, 100% factual and this is the truth and da-di-da-di-da, because there's a lot of people on Instagram and social media in general right now talking like they know everything, right? And that's not to say I know everything. It's none of that. It's just I know what I know based off of my experience, my eyes, my life, my mind. That's all this is. If you disagree, that's fine. That's what the comment section is for. Very rarely am I going to get super passionate about something and say like, oh, this is just the facts. This is 100%. This is 100% that. Very rarely am I going to do that. Just a fair warning. If you don't like that kind of material, that's not what I do here, but it might happen. Just warning you if you know. Something that's been going on in my life, right, for the past month is I've been thinking a lot about therapy. Pretty much since 2023 started, I've been thinking about it a lot more. And one thing that I do believe personally, I might have said this in the previous video, but who cares, because you might be new watching this. It's been a while anyway, is that, I recommend therapy for people. I do think therapy works. I went to therapy twice in my life, mostly because I was forced to go, because in school, they was, oh, you need some help, da-da-da, you got anger issues, what's going on at home, like da-da-da, that kind of stuff when you're young. But I haven't made like a voluntary choice to go to therapy on my own, like as an adult. And maybe one day soon, because, if things get out of hand, or if I ever feel like, I really probably should do that, I'll go that way. But I mainly recommend when you go to therapy, right, they're just going to ask you questions. And half the time, I firmly believe a lot of us already know the answers to the questions that they're going to ask you in therapy anyway. So why go to therapy to be asked questions that you yourself can ask yourself? All you got to do is sit in the mirror, sit in the car like I'm doing, sit at home, or talk to a friend or family member if you have that. And if you don't, then like I said, sit by yourself and just think about some of the things that you don't like and reflect on them. So simple. So my challenge for the next 30 days to myself and to you, if you're watching, is to spend 30 days reflecting on different events in your life each day, or make 30 segments. They don't got to be all in one day each, but I'll prefer it that way. That's the way it's supposed to go. But if you can journal, write down 30 things in your life and reflect on them. If you want to make videos like me, make video like me. If you want to just make posts, make posts. Do that. But the challenge is to do this for 30 days throughout the month of April and have 30 reflections. My first reflection is really based off of a post that I answered on Quora. I don't know if you know what that is, but Quora is basically like Reddit, for those of us who know. And you basically just post questions and, pictures. It's not really like videos and stuff like that on there that much, but it's just about posts. And most people put questions and people just answer. Random people can't answer. It's basically like an anonymous almost thing, but some people have public profiles. They don't mind putting themselves out there. One of the questions that was on there was, it was really a category that was talking about ghosts and spirituality and stuff like that, and paranormal stuff. But the question was, what was the most traumatic thing that happened to you as a child? Now, when I answered this question, it was supposed to be about, like, I didn't understand why this question was in a category of like paranormal, spiritual stuff. But the answer that I just decided to give in there was really just about how I grew up and how many, the years that I had that was rough growing up. And what's the most traumatic thing that happened to me is living in poverty, struggling. Like, that's the most traumatic thing that ever happened to me, as far as that I know of, that I can remember. And that's the hard stuff that I want to talk about moving forward. Like, in these challenges, as I go on, I'm going to say stuff and probably talk about things that some of y'all probably went through too and might not be comfortable hearing or talking about yourself. But like I said, you don't got to make videos for yourself, but you can just write them down and just like go through it. But I got to do this for me personally, because I got a lot of emotions and thoughts and feelings backed up from things that I've been through, in my life, even as an adult. But it doesn't change anything that I'm an adult, because the stuff still happened to you. One thing that I also firmly believe is that people like to tell people to just get over stuff and, you know, or you'll grow out of it. Time will heal certain things, la da 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 da. People say these things, right? But it's also very hard to get rid of the emotions that come with stuff. You're still allowed to feel a certain way. Yeah, you got to get over it, because you do. Yeah, when you go to work and you got to handle your responsibilities in life, you do got to get over stuff and push through it. But it doesn't change the fact that you feel the way you feel, that the damage has been done by certain stuff. So we're not going to sit here, and I don't encourage people to sit around and act like they don't feel a certain way. If you know you hurt, if you know you're insecure, if you know you're angry, you know you got a hard time making decisions, stuff like that, then that's just what it is. For me, the traumatic thing is the struggle that I went through, that my family went through growing up. Now, we wasn't always struggling. We had a good living. We had Christmases, we had holidays, we had family gatherings, we had cookouts. We did all those things that a normal black family would do in Philadelphia or any city or anywhere, right? We did all those things. But around the time I got to 4th grade, 5th grade, after pretty much we all have acknowledged that once my grandfather passed, everything just fell apart. And that's just the facts of the way it is. And ever since that time in our lives, it changed everything. You know, everybody got depressed. Everybody got sad. Everybody had grief. Everybody had loneliness, isolation, things like that, and different ways of coping with my grandfather passing and leaving us. And it left a hole in all of us. Can't lie. You know, and if whoever family members that I have that's going to watch this, you know, we know what the truth is. We know how this impacted all of us. We can't lie. And the times that followed, such as not having heat, not having food, you know, donations, things like that, having to get free food from programs, and only going to school hungry, and the only meal that you really eat is at a school, you know, and stuff like that sucks. And, you know, the sad part is that this is the way that a lot of young black Americans live. You know, a lot of black families have to deal with this. A lot of kids got to go through this. So one thing I've learned also is when you're in the process of moving on from stuff, you do got to realize that you're not the only one who goes through this stuff. Now, again, this goes with the other thing I said. Don't take away from the fact that it hurts, but you do got to acknowledge one part, that you're not the only one who had to go through this. So that helped me heal to a certain degree, but the facts is just that it's traumatic. Because even now, when I see a leak in my house, right? When I see something about to get cut off, or I imagine something about to get cut off, like, it really sticks with me hard. You know, and it's hard because, for example, right? When I was still living at my mom's house, me and my girlfriend, my aunt, we were all living together at a house. And the ceiling had started to leak. And when I went downstairs and I seen this leak, I just had stood there in shock and just like paused, like for like at least like 2 minutes. And I just stared at the floor and stared at the ceiling and stared at the water. And it was just a simple leak. It wasn't like crazy. But when I was in our old house, we had a situation where like pipes busted and like the basement had flooded and things like this. And after that point, a lot of things even went even further downhill and got even worse. And when I seen this water, and as a young adult, not when I was a kid or a teenager, it just all came back to me, and it made me angry, it made me sad, it made me nervous. Like, it just sent chills up my spine, because I'm like, oh, here we go again. Like, not this again, not plumbing problems, not about to have no water or something like that, or now we gotta find another way to wash up and stuff like that. Like, that kind of stuff is traumatic. And I fear that, like, I mean, everybody fears that. Nobody wants to pay extra bills and think about something breaking in their house, catching on fire, flooding, la-di-da-di-da, stuff like that, getting house broken into. Everybody fears these things. But now that I have a place of my own with my girlfriend, every time I think about something being broken or something not working, it makes me so angry and shoot, sometimes it just like, I just clench my fist because it just makes me shake on the inside. Like, this better not happen again, because there was just such a long time that we had growing up of things not working or things being cut off and things having to be fixed and just not having it, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people work hard and they don't have the money to fix things right away. They don't have the money to keep their refrigerator full. Recently, we just got our food stamps cut off because we allegedly make too much money, which is BS. But so many families go through this, and you just gotta make ends meet and you gotta deal with it. Shoot, you gotta learn how to fast because you gotta make food that you can get stretched. But unfortunately, we don't get to pick the rules and we don't get to decide how much money we really need and how much food stamps we supposed to get and how much other programs and assistance we qualify. We don't get to pick that kind of stuff. But growing up, the resources wasn't always there. The adults in my house and my family, I know we all had trouble asking for help. We don't like asking for help. Till this day, I don't like asking for help, unless it really, really calls for it. But that's a double-edged sword because it makes you learn how to figure things out on your own and not depend on people. And when stuff goes wrong, the first thing you do is call for help. Because if you're used to getting help, what are you going to do the day you don't get help? That's the question. Now, back then, these things went on for years. I'm talking about years of cold showers, years of no heat. Not too long, we always had water and things like that. We've always had electricity, but we had moments where them things wasn't there. But majority was just a cold house. Things had to be fixed, that just didn't have the money for it, and also, just being honest, didn't have the heart to ask for help and do more. And this is just common in Black families, or really any family that goes through any kind of struggle. It's hard to ask for help. But to this day, I get paranoid about like clothes smelling. Nobody likes to stink. Nobody likes clothes that smell musty, smell like basement, smell old, things like that. But a lot of us, let's just be real here, people that I grew up in my neighborhood in Logan and Philadelphia, anywhere in the city, we know this. We know some of us got old houses. Some of us had old houses that smell like a certain way. Even to this day, like, I know I'm clean. I know my house that I got with my girlfriend is clean. I know we clean. I know that, but I just still have like never-ending paranoias and things about stuff smelling a certain way or looking a certain way and things in the house not being a certain way. Like, just obsessions and things that I worry about. I don't even have to worry about that no more. So with that being said, that just shows you, and that's just one example of how something traumatic from your past constantly brings itself to the front and changes the way you think and affects the way you think and how you do things. And I know that things are okay. Things are 1,000 times better than they ever were when I'm growing up now. But that damage, that fear, that trauma from constantly struggling just makes you like question, like, one day I'm just going to wake up and everything's just going to be falling apart. And it's not true. But that's what it does to you. And this applies to all forms of trauma. It doesn't have to be struggling, but if you've been through any kind of abuse, if you've been through, any kind of neglect, if you've been in foster care, things like that, financial debt, all these things. If you ever had situations like these, gun violence, you can name anything. Once it's done, it could be years ago, but it will find a way to come back to you, whether you like it or not, no matter how much reflecting and learning and things you may do. I chose this answer first to talk about this small thing from my past. And this is only one traumatic thing that I'm just sharing here. But on Quora, I shared this post, and I shared this information on the post, and it's actually my most successful post on there. It got about like 10,000 views, whatever, a couple hundred likes, a couple reposts, some comments here and there from strangers. And the people in the comments was like, I hope you don't live in America like that. And I put in there, I was like, yep, from America, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And they was like, that sounds like you live in a third world country or something like that. Yeah, it does. But this is the reality of poor Black communities and just poor people in general. This is how people live. You may have a house, you may have a family, But some people out here is living real grimy. And believe me, I know it could have got worse than the way I had it. And I'm happy that it never got any worse than it did. I could have been homeless. Could have been that. I acknowledge that. But these people in these comments just like, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And you know, it was real nice to, these are strangers. These are random people, white, black, Mexican, and they could be from overseas. Who cares? But it was nice to just get that sympathy and those responses in the comments, because, you know, I don't talk to a lot of people about it. People see me. They think, you know, they could tell I was raised some type of right. But people see me, and you would never think that I had some situations going on. Nothing like that, but we all do. And that's the best part about human, the best and the worst part, let me correct that, about being human, is we know how to cover stuff up. We know how to act. We know how to put on the front. We know how to put on the mask. And at the end of the day, you know, you either going to wear that mask and something or someone's going to forcibly take it off. And then what you're going to do when you got to explain yourself, or you own it and you learn how to be confident. And when it's time to talk about it, you talk about it and just share the experience. So that's what I'm doing here. That was my first video reflection, video 1 of the 30-day challenge, where we just talk about problems. So I hope you do the same. Hope you enjoyed. That was a nice 15 minutes of your time. Like, comment, share, do all that. And I hope you join me on this 30-day challenge. Thanks for listening.